All right, so what I'm doing is taping my paper down to on each edge to my workspace, just like we did last week for those who were on last week. And I'll hold it up in just a second so you can see. All right, so all four edges, and let me turn some extra light on. Hold on. Is that a little bit brighter? All right, are we ready?
No, what are you taping? I'm sorry.
The paper, I take the paper down to a surface.
Oh, just any surface?
Well, whatever your work surface is.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
All right. All right, we're gonna start, if you have a pencil, we're gonna sketch out an apple, and watch first. It's gonna take up most of your paper. So this is what we're creating today, guys. Okay. So you're gonna start with something like this at the top. Can you see that? Don't try to make it perfect. Cheryl, are you using oil pastels, color pencils, or crayons?
All of the above.
Oh, Lord. Okay, let's stick with one. Let's stick with the oil pastels, okay?
Okay, gotcha.
All right, so now we're gonna curve around.
I can't find my pencil now. Damn it.
Does my paper need to be long ways or?
The tall way.
I need, wait a minute. I need to turn around. I got it horizontal.
All right.
Damn.
Then we're gonna go ahead and curve the bottom. You can put bumps on the bottom of your apple if you want to, because you know they're not perfect. So this apple has 3 bumps at the bottom. You can do 1 bump, 2, no bumps, it's up to you. Let me know when you're ready. You guys ready? I'm waiting on y'all to tell me if you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay. So now to give the apple shape, right at the top, not too far up, you're just gonna draw a little arc.
Okay.
All right. From here, you're gonna draw a stem. You can take your stem all the way up if you want, or you can leave it kind of inside the apple, but I'm gonna take my stem up. You can take it either direction you want. And then I'm just gonna put a little oval or triangle at the top so that it looks 3D. And then I'm going to erase right in here. All right, next I'm going to put a leaf. So that leaf is going to come up and out, or you can put it higher on the stem if you want to, but I'm going to have it grow off the bottom part of my stem. And then I just erased the line from the apple. And I'm just going to draw a line down the middle just to give it some detail and maybe some lines for my leaf. Just something really quick because you're going to end up covering a lot of that with your oil pastel. How are we feeling with the apple? LaShawn, you good? Or you still drawing? All right. Now what you're going to do, if you have a ruler, you can use it, but you don't have to. You want to place this apple on a table, which means you're going to put a horizontal line as if it's going behind that apple to make it look like it's sitting on a surface. Can you see it? Where there's a line on the left and the right? All right, we all set?
Yes.
All right, let's work on our apple. So right now what you need to do is you need to decide if you want a red apple, green apple. I like to do a color blend because apples come in a shade, different variety of colors. So I'm gonna probably stick with my reds and yellows. So I have about 3 different reds in my box. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull out my yellow. I have a couple of yellows and like an orange yellow that I'm gonna pull out. And I have a couple of greens. You work with whatever you have that are in the color variety that you want on your apple.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to start with my reds. We'll go with my darkest red. I'm going to just kind of color in the direction of the apple, the way the apple kind of grows, or not grows, but is shaped. So notice how it's curved. I'm not coloring, I'm just drawing lines. If you go outside your line a little bit, that's fine. Right here on the front, I'm just going to take it down. No curve. But all the way around this way it curves. The bottom is also curved. I'm going to choose one side of my apple to keep a little bit lighter than the other. That's going to be where my light source is, and it's up to you. It can either be on the left, the right, or right in the middle. And it's okay if you've already put lines everywhere. Just remember to which spot you want your apple to shine on. So I'm not going to put a lot of red on that part. So if you already put lines, so let's say you've got lines everywhere, you can just come in a little darker around it and it'll still pop. All right, I'm gonna switch and go to a little bit lighter red and just put some lines in there, just kind of random. Now back here, behind the apple, you just want to take it towards the top of your paper. I'm going to my third red, which is kind of an orange red. All right, LaShawn, can you go on mute for me?
You
Thank
hear me?
you.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. All right, I'm now going to move to my greens. I'm gonna go with my darker green first. I'm just gonna put a few towards the outer part because that's where the darker part of my apple is gonna be. And I just wanna put that as if it's a shadow. But I'm just putting a few streaks of the green. I may put a little bit in the front and definitely some on the bottom. I don't want to make my apple too heavy, so I'm not going to use too much of the darker green. I'm now going to put a little bit of the lighter green in the lighter area where my shine is going to be. And then I can put some in the other areas. You don't want to use too much green because red and green mixed together make brown. You guys with me? Do I need to slow down? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready to keep going. All right. I'm going to move to my yellowish orange. So it's like a golden yellow. I'm going to put a few of the strokes on the outer part, more in that lighter area. And don't forget about back here. I'm going to go to my next lightest color, yellow. Put more different areas of my apple. Again, I'm just using lines. I'm not coloring. I don't want my apple to turn orange. And then I'm going to go with my lightest yellow. Press down a little bit harder with that lighter color. All right. Right in here where that shadow is, we're going to come back in. I'm going to use my darker green just to kind of outline where that hole is, where that stem is coming up from. I just kind of colored around that. Can you guys see that? Thumbs up if you can. Awesome. So I just wanted to put that shadow there. Now I'm going to come on top of it with some red. Because again, I want my apple to be red, not necessarily brown, but I did want to put that depth in there. I think I want to come in with a little bit more of that darker green. All right. We're going to come back with some more red. You pick whichever red you want. If you want your apple brighter, then go with your brighter one. If you want it deeper or whatever color the majority of your apple is. So I'm just coming back with more of my red. I'm trying to fill in as many of those white lines that still might be there. You're going to start to notice that these colors are going to get thicker and start to look a little waxy, and that's what you want. You don't want it to look like crayon necessarily. This is the opportunity for you to kind of shape your apple if it's kind of lost its shape a little bit. So I lost my little bumps at the bottom, so I want to just go back and put those in there. Now you're going to choose a white. This is going to go on the lighter highlighted area of your apple. And you're actually going to color. This is working as a blender. Notice how my colors are blending right on that shiny part of my apple. See that? And you want to still color in the same direction. If you want to put a little bit of shine in another area or two, you can. We're going to come back with this white in a little bit. I want you to pick up a dark pink if your apple is red. If your apple is green, are you both doing red apples? Yes. So see how dark my pink is? I'm coming and coloring on my red with this pink to blend those colors in. Notice I'm not losing my lines that I put in there before. I'm just kind of pulling it all together so that it looks more uniform. I'm even going to go on my lighter part just so that it doesn't look so standalone. Put a little bit of pink there. Again, don't forget the back of your apple. Now, I went too far around with that, so I'm going to come back and put some straight lines right here. So I don't want my apple to look crazy. All right, if you still have lots of white lines, you can go in with another color. I'm going to come in with a little bit of yellow in some spots. I don't want to color too much yellow. Again, I don't want my apple to turn orange. I just want to put little hints of yellow in some of those spots. I'm coming back into this area with my white because I feel like I need to blend it out more. Again, I'm just coloring. You could color on your entire apple if you want to, but it's going to make it look more pink. So I wouldn't necessarily do it with the white everywhere, but I would stick with probably that darker pink. You want to keep rubbing until it feels pretty smooth. You should get to a point where you can rub. You should be able to rub and blend your pastels even more. Just rub with your finger. That will also get rid of some of those white spots. And just kind of look at your apple. If it's missing something or you want to put more color somewhere, feel free to add. I want to add more of my darker green just to kind of add some of those lines that you see on an apple. coming back with more red. So again, it's pretty much personal preference. Kind of hold it away from you. See if it's looking like it is the shape of an apple. It should not look flat. It should look like an apple that you can pick up from this sheet of paper. And every now and then just take your finger and kind of smooth it out. Don't worry about if you get pastel smudges over on the side. That's going to happen because of the material we're using. All right, give me a thumbs up if you're at a pretty smooth texture on your apple. Uh-oh, Cheryl went away.
Sorry, I got disconnected.
That's all right. I didn't even know you were gone. I looked up. I'm like, uh-oh.
And why my apple not looking like that?
You want to show me your apple?
No.
Okay. So
I'll keep going.
do you still have white spaces in your apple?
Yeah.
Okay. So you may want to just press down a little bit more and rub with your finger more.
Okay. Okay.
Now I'm going to turn it and look at it because it looks a little weird to me
Hang on.
from upside down.
I ain't gonna tell you what it looked like.
I don't want you to tell me. But I got to reshape it. It's looking weird. It looked a little crooked. So I'm reshaping
Well,
it.
yeah, my little shadowy part, sunshiny part look a little
Uh-oh.
suspect here.
Uh-oh.
It's funny. All right, I'm gonna work on it.
All right. LaShawn, how is yours coming along? You know you're muted. I can't hear you, LaShawn.
It's all right.
Still can't hear you, but it's okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I wanted a little bit more rounder.
You mean rounder, like instead of tall?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to show me your apple so I can see it and give you recommendations. For the size of your paper, you would have to go out further this way, but that's probably gonna make it too big.
Too big, right?
Hold it back up again, LaShawn. All right, the only thing right here in the middle, I just see a lot of white. Make sure you rub and smooth it in.
Okay.
Kind of hold it back and look at it, and you'll see what I'm saying. Mine started out that way, but once I rubbed it, that kind of went away.
Okay.
I'll wait for you guys. Just let me know when you're ready.
So are you rubbing with your finger?
Yep, I smoothed it out with my finger.
Okay.
Let me know when y'all ready. All right, we can go ahead and do our stem and our leaf. I'm gonna go with a dark brown, kind of towards the side that's closest to the leaf, and right on that little circle at the top. And then I'm gonna go with a little bit of a lighter brown over on the other side. That's too light. Just to kind of make it look 3D a little bit. And then you can kind of blend them together. Okay, can you see that? Then I'm gonna go with my leaf. I'm going with a really dark green. If you don't have a really dark green, you can start with a little bit of black and put green on top of it. So I'm just gonna go straight up my stem with my darker green. And then do my little imprints, indentations. And then I'm gonna lightly sketch the outside of my leaf with that green, just so that I can see where it starts and stops. And then color lightly with that darker green from the edges going in. And I'll hold it up so you can see. I'm now gonna go with a little bit of a lighter green. I'm gonna go with these two next. So one that's kind of an olive and the other one's kind of a lime. And I'm just gonna put lines. I'm just adding layers of color just to get something that looks more of a natural color on my green. Now I'm gonna go with my lighter green. And I'm just kind of coloring in the rest of it. And you can leave it like that if you'd like. I'm gonna come back on top of mine with a little bit of yellow, just to kind of wake it up a little bit. And that yellow is working as my blender. It's blending and softening all of those lines. So notice you can still color on top of that darker color and you still see your detail. All right. Let me know when you're ready for your table and your wall space. If you have a tissue or a baby wipe, you may want to clean your finger because you'll probably use that finger again. And I'm going to also show you how to use a tissue to blend. So you need to figure out what color background you want. This is your wall space. This is your table space. On this, on this one, I have a brown table with the black, blue background. So you figure out what color table space and background you want. I think I want to stick with a brown table. So I'm just going to pull out a few different shades of brown. I'm going to get a dark, a medium, and kind of a light. So I've got these three. Can you see them? Uh-oh, Cheryl went bye-bye. Oh, there she is. So I'm going to color in the direction that the wood on the table would probably be. So I'm just gonna go back and forth and kind of color. Now we could stick with this one color if you wanted to, but I want to do a little bit of each. And I just go right up to my line. And it's okay if it gets on top of your tape. That's why we have the tape there, so you don't end up coloring your table. All right, I'm gonna put the darker brown to the side. Now I'm coming in with that medium brown. It's just giving me a nice little mixture of browns. Get right up to the edge of that apple. And notice I'm not pressing down really hard. I'm just kind of lightly coloring. Now I'm going to come in with my lighter and I'm going to press down a little bit harder. That's going to kind of work as part of my blending, but I'm going to come back actually and blend with my white because I want a smoother surface. But you can see all three of those colors kind of working together. Get close to your apple, but don't color your apple. All right. I don't think I'm going to use white. I think I'm going to use a lighter. It's almost like a flesh tone or a peach. And I'm going to show you the difference. So if I mixed, and to clean your pastel, because your white should be dirty, you could just rub it on a sheet of paper and it will clean that color from the apple off. So I'm just going to show you right down, well, kind of right here. If I mixed the white, see how it's making it like really light versus if I use this browner, more neutral tone color, it's a little bit softer. That's the white. That's the other one. Can you tell the difference? The white is just, it's more muted. I want to keep a lot of color. All right. We're not going to color all of it just yet. Actually, yeah, go ahead and do it. I don't want to confuse you. So I'm outlining my apple just so that I don't overlap. Now I'm going back and forth to the side of my apple and I'm blending that brown, blending those browns together.
And you're blending them how?
I'm just going, rubbing really hard on top, the same way we,
With the
with
the white or?
I'm using like a peachy color.
Okay.
It's like a
Gotcha.
really, really pale, the color is called pale brown.
I got you.
Yeah, I didn't like the white. It was too, making it look too ashy for me. Some kits come with a blender, but that's usually more of a deluxe kit. I have a blender, but it's a different brand and it didn't work well with this brand. So I'm gonna probably invest in that brand that I have the blender for. And then I'm just coming over, outlining the other side of the apple, and then blending the rest of the table that wasn't blended. All right. You can then use your finger and rub. You have to press down kind of hard. Now, let me show you how to use tissue paper because you may want to use tissue or paper towel. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my paper towel, I'm going to fold it, keep folding it in half until it kind of becomes a square. And then I'm going to fold it back so that it looks kind of like a triangle, or you can just keep them squares, but I just need it to be really tight. And then I just press down really hard back and forth to blend that out even more. So I'm pushing it into my paper. Now you may notice it starts to crumble a little bit. You don't have to go back and forth. You can kind of go in circles. You're just trying to get those colors to blend more. And again, it's up to you if you want to blend with tissue or your fingertip. If it crumbles, do not rub it. Just kind of flick it over to the side with your fingernail or something. Because if you rub it, then you're gonna get those colors and they're gonna start to bleed. Well, not really bleed, but smear or smudge. All right, so that's what my table looks like. The way that I did the lines, it almost looks like it's actual wood. All right, now the shadow. Based on where the light is hitting. So if you look at this apple, the light is kind of in the front, but over to the side a little bit. So my shadow needed to go the opposite direction. With my shadow, with my light on this apple right in the front, most of my shadow is going to be kind of right behind. I may have a little bit of shadow right underneath, but not a lot. Okay. So again, if your light is here, your shadow is going to go out that way. If your light is here, your shadow goes out that way. If it's right in the middle, let me show you what your shadow is going to look like. I'm going to use black, but be very, very gentle with this black. So let me kind of color it in where I can see. All right, so all I did was put a little bit of smudging, a little bit right up underneath the front of my apple. And then I'm gonna put just a little bit out towards the side of my apple, towards the back. And I'm coloring very lightly because black is powerful and it will potentially destroy your artwork. Okay. Then I'm going to use that tissue and I'm just gonna smudge it to blend it out. I just want it darker right around the bottom. It may rub off a little more than you want. If it does, then go back with a little bit more black, or you can use a darker brown, which would be probably less dangerous. So let me try the darker brown. You guys see that? Where it's actually looking like it's sitting on a table with a little bit of a shadow underneath. The more you want it to look like it's sitting on a table, or the darker you go, the more it's gonna look like it's sitting there. So I'm actually gonna come back with a little bit more of my black, because I do want it to look like it's sitting on a surface. All right. Let me know when you're ready to move on. The next thing you're gonna do when we are ready is we're gonna work on our background color. I would suggest you pick a color that's going to make that apple pop. Usually what makes red pop is a green. So if you go with the green, make sure it's not going to lose that leaf. You can also do like a glow behind your apple. So you can kind of do maybe blues that go into a yellow. It's, you know, it's kind of up to you. I'm gonna play around with mine since I already have a blue background. I think I'm gonna go with, let me see. I'm thinking, y'all. I'm gonna go with a bluish green. So almost like a teal or turquoise. All right, see that color? I think I wanna go with that. Kind of around my apple. And then I'll change it out as we go further out. And again, I'm just playing around. I don't know how this is going to turn out. Because I typically would use blue, but I want to do something a little bit different. So I'm only coloring right near the apple. Now, right around my leaf and my stem area, I'm going away from it because I don't want that leaf to get blended into that greenish color. And I'm not going all the way out to the edge. I'm gonna go with a different color. I think I'm gonna go with a lighter green on that white part that I left next to my leaf. And I can actually bring it around my stem. And I'm gonna lighten up some of that teal color with this lighter green. I'm just using it to blend. Just so that it's not a hard line. Can you see what's happening? I'm just blending out that darker teal with this lighter green. And a lot of times it's all about just playing with the materials to kind of see what you like. And you can always get another piece of paper and, you know, over to the side, just blend some colors and see what mixes well together. All right, I'm going to now go into a third color. I'm going to keep that light green out and see what I want to do. I I think I'm gonna come out a little bit with a regular blue. Not a lot because I want to end with purple. So I'm rubbing right on top of that teal, kind of mixing them together. So that teal's going into a blue. All right, can you see what I just did? And I'm going to come back with my lighter green that I blended with before. And I'm going to rub right on top of that darker blue where it connected with my teal. You're going to see a transition of color. I'm not going all the way into my blue because I'm going to put purple out there and I don't want to mix green and purple to make brown. I'm just basically using this to blend that teal and that blue together where they met. And again, like I said, I'm just kind of playing around with color. Now I'm going to put purple all the way out on the edge. So the blue and the purple will actually come together. I'm going to come back and put some blue on top of where that purple is because I want it to be more of a transition instead of a hard line. So I'm going to come back with that same blue I had before and just kind of go over into my purple a little bit more. So I'm going between that lighter teal and the purple with this darker blue, pressing down kind of hard. And that's the cool part about pastels. They blend a whole lot better than crayon. You could use white, or since I use purple, see, I don't know what colors you guys are using, but I'm going to use my lightest purple. And now I'm going to blend from my purple over into my blue. And it's just softening those colors. So if you get into pastels, I would recommend you invest in extra light assortments because you can always blend with the lighter colors. I mean, you can blend with the darker ones, but I like blending with the lighter colors. All right, I have a little bit where it's not as blended as I want, so I'm going to come back with my white. And just like with your crayon, if you start to run into the paper, just peel the paper off. And I'm just going to use white to kind of blend that purple and green. I just want to soften it up, it's too hard. If you get too close to your apple, you're going to end up getting red into your green and it's going to turn whatever color that is next to it. So if your outside is yellow and you mix red into it, it's going to turn it to an orange color. So I'm just going over everything with white, just softening it up. And then I'm just going to use my finger or tissue, preferably not a finger that already has oil on it. And I'm just rubbing to blend those colors. The more oil you use, the smoother it is to rub and blend. All right, it's a funky background, but it works. All right, so you have the option to keep your painting this way, or you can add oil, which is why we have the baby oil, and we're at the very last stages. A lot of artists who want to use oil paints tend to, who have never used them before, will shy away from the oil paint because it takes a long time for it to dry. And so what you can do is you can color with the oil pastels and give this the effect as if it was painted with oil by using I use baby oil, you can use mineral oil, linseed oil, and you just basically take a paintbrush, and I'm gonna go with, I have two different sizes here. Just make sure when you finish, you wash your brush really good, because if you are a painter, once you get that oil in your brush, you don't want to mix it with anything else. You want to wash it really good with some gentle soap, and just kind of put the soap on your finger, go back and forth, and then you can wash it off. On the areas that are very, very tiny, which is where I'm going to start, I'm going to use a thinner brush. I dip it in my oil, and I'm just going to come and paint right on top of my stem, for example. And you'll notice that those colors will start to soften, and it's almost like painting. Because that's still brown, I can come and work on that brown part of the inside of my apple. I actually think I'm going to stick with this brush because I have more control. And I'm just going in the same direction that I colored. I'm sticking with my apple for now because of the colors that's on my brush. Go really close to the edge, and you just brush in the same direction that you colored. This helps to smooth out. And if you go back and forth where there are white spots, you'll notice that that oil is loosening up, and you can kind of color in those empty spots. You don't want to overdo it with the oil because it will start running. But what's going to happen is that oil pastel. So for those who remember science and solubility, the oil pastels can be broken down with oil. So that's what's happening. The oil pastel is having a chemical reaction with the oil that you're putting on it, and it's loosening up the pastels. The molecules will eventually come back together to re-solidify as it dries. So I would say,
that is
what?
sexy. That is sexy.
So I would say leave this to the side for at least a
Oh,
day or
wow.
two, just to let it do what it's gonna do. Once it's done, it will be dry to the touch. If you're gonna frame it, I still would not frame it with a glass on it unless there's a way for you to put some space in between there. I'm not real versed on oils as far as oil paintings, but typically when you're painting, you do not frame it with glass on the front. Now, if you're using just regular pastels with no oil on it, or chalk, color pencils, things like that, once you set it, then yes, you can cover it with the glass, like a frame from the Dollar Tree or whatever. So this is different from last week because we did not add the oil. We just learned how to color with the pastels. Now on your lighter part, you want to make sure that you don't have any really darkness on your brush. But the way these pastels work, that color transfer is very minimal unless you stay in a really dark area for a while. but you'll notice those white spots are starting to completely go away and it's looking more like a painting. All right, when you're at a good point to stop with your apple, you want to I just kind of cleaned my brush off a little bit in my oil because this is just going to be this is always my cup that I come back to. I'm now going to work on my leaf. I'll do my background last. And I'm just doing a quick little back and forth just to have those colors melt and blend together.
Man, this is so cool.
Yeah, I thought it would be cool to teach. I'm glad you're enjoying it. All right, once you're done with your leaf, you can clean the brush or you can go right down here to your shadow and start blending that in because those colors are kind of, they're not gonna fight each other or clash. So I'm just blending in my shadow underneath my apple without rubbing too much into my brown because I still want to keep the detail of my shadow along with the clean edge of my apple. And if I must say so myself, this is one of the things that make what I do different than going to a sip and paint. Because again, you learn how to create your own stuff. And I'm not knocking sip and paints. I think they serve a purpose, but for those who really want to get into growing and just kind of experimenting with art, a class like this gives you a lot more flexibility. All right, now I'm going up around the side of my apple to blend over into my table. And you should start to see a lot less of the lines and white spots. And you just want to kind of rub with the tip of that brush. You don't want to rub too hard. Hopefully they are turning out okay. Y'all are so quiet. And like I said, I did record this for the people who couldn't make it today. So I'll send you guys the link. That way you can go back and look at it if you want to do it again. I was telling LaShawn, Cheryl, next month we're canvas painting and I'll be posting the pictures that you guys will be creating. And because you're getting your own blank canvas, they will not be pre-drawn.
Okay, my apple don't have a shadow.
On the table? What happened to your shadow on the table, Cheryl?
It never really looked like a shadow. I told you it looked like something else. And
Okay, well, we're gonna look at it, and I don't know how to fix it once you put the oil on.
That's okay. It's okay. I'll have to do this again one day.
You'll have the link. All right, now I'm gonna go up to my background. And I'm just starting close to the edge of the apple so I can clean up anything that may have kind of gone astray. And We are almost done, ladies. The paintings in February will be love inspired since it's Valentine's. So I know one of them is the first one is an abstract inspired by a famous artist by the name of Romero Brito. The second one, I think I put for Swan, where they come together and create the shape of a heart. The third one is King and Queen. So it's kind of a Black African history pride thing mixed with the love relationship theme. And then the last one is a love tree, where it's a male female body that comes together to form a tree. And the branches will have different words of love, admiration, support in them. So I'll post the pictures, and that way you can choose if you want to do any of them at all, or if you want to do all of them. But I am running a couple special, and it doesn't have to be a romantic couple. It can be you and a friend of yours. It's just kind of a 2-for, and it's cheaper because I know the expenses for getting canvas and everything's a lot more. So instead of it being the regular 25, I dropped the price a little bit. All right, we should be done, guys. Once this is all dry, you can use a number 4 or higher pencil. LaShawn, you don't know what that is necessarily, but you may be able to use a Sharpie also. And you will just sign it with a number 4B or higher, Cheryl, because you have your sketch pencils. You just find where you want to sign it, and you can sign right on top of it after it has dried, not right now. All right. And you can wait to peel these off, but I would do it now because sometimes that masking tape sticks, and we don't want you ripping your paper after a couple of days. And you should have a nice clean border with the exception of a little bit of oil spillover. All right. Y'all know I want to see what you did, but I don't want you to hold it up because I don't want the oil to drip. So please either post it on Facebook or send me a picture. If you are comfortable with me sharing it on Facebook, let me know. If not, I will not post it. All right. Thank you, guys.